I've had those surprise people in the audience before. Some of them you don't even know, but they turn out to be a surprise as part of your act. So you find out that the Johnsons are in the audience while you're making a Johnson.
Yes.
The last show we did at the Cadillac Club, there was one joke, and I can't even remember the punchline to it, but there was something in it where I said it was one of those things on my bucket list, like XXX and having sex with a midget. Do you guys remember this?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
There was a little person in the audience.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
You say, "Oh, Brian," and he came up to me and he said, "You know what? I can help you check that off.
I knew it.
I can help you check that
I knew
off." And I was like, but the minute I saw him, I was like, "Oh shit!" Like, you just never know, like
No,
that.
you don't.
And then boom, he was like, "Okay, I'm on it." So Brian, you said, Brian, if you're out there, Brian, I still haven't checked it off. I'm divorced now, so we can work on that. Still willing. It's still on my list.
Of each other as women comics, so cool because it's still a male comic world out there. Tina Fey wrote a book about her experience at Saturday Night Live, and oh my God, you know, it looked like all happy, but John Belushi would not perform with women on there. And you know, you just refused because, and I've been with male comics and they say, well, women aren't funny, and
Like hell.
Yeah, really.
but you know, a lot of the men comics, they just love talking about their junk, and that's all that they want to do, and you don't see us you know, just making laughs about our vaginas. It's not, you know, we don't,
Speak for yourself. I have a very funny vagina.
we don't have to do that to get laughs, you know. It's just, they're so wrong, and to be amidst a group of funny women, it's just great.
The other thing that's funny about men are competitive with comedy.
Oh,
so
yeah.
even as a woman, if I show up to a comedy event and there's like 3 men and it's me, they think I'm there to do spoken word. Okay, they discount me immediately, and then they all compete
Yeah.
with each other and be like, "Oh, I'm gonna be the funniest. You know, you ain't got a chance."
Yeah.
And what's funny about performing with all women is we're so much more supportive. So we're like, "Oh my goodness, you're gonna do great.
Yeah.
You're beautiful. You're beautiful."
That's
You know?
true.
And we're like, "You got this."
And
You know,
you can relate, no matter if
true.
you've experienced or not, you know
Right.
someone else who has. And it is funny. You were talking about the second show about after the first show, people thought you were a lesbian. And I thought, I did too.
I got a lot of numbers.
A friend of mine that was there was a lesbian. She's like, think I could go get her number? I'm like, why not? She might have been.
See, I thought she just wanted to like play with Legos or something. So I was like, sure, call me.
I think she liked your boots.
Well, with this, I was hoping that you guys could talk about, and you've already kind of done it actually, which is so exciting to be with this energy, but if you could talk about maybe 1 or 2 favorite memories or something that you remember, and I can start with Toni. I think I might have opened the door for you, knocking on the back door of the Cadillac Club, which I was nervous as all got out, and then there was this knock at the door in the back, and I'm like, I don't know what's going on. But one of my favorite things about you was you started out and you came out in your wheelchair, and you're like, I'm the first sit-down comic. You just deadpan that. And then, I don't have the full story, but I really remember you also talking about calling the firefighters because they were attractive.
Right.
The very first
Oh, I love
time I'd
yeah.
ever done comedy that there was a sign
but
language
you fall in
interpreter was
fall in
at
love.
the Capitol steps during Pride. So on the Capitol steps during Pride, I'm telling these stories about white men in suits creating laws that are rather hypocritical when you're outlawing gay marriage and then getting caught in a glory hole in the bathroom. You know, it's a little hypocritical. And I'm telling and I had a sign language interpreter, but I had never given her, I didn't know I was going to have one, and then I didn't give her warning about half the topics I was going to be talking about.
Yeah.
But watching the YouTube video, and you can find it on YouTube, it is almost more funny watching what she does than hearing what I'm saying.
Yep.
And we learned so much. And so what happened was, since then, I've always tried to have a sign language interpreter at every show, because the sign is as funny as the comedy.
You should really have one in life.
There was
Just walk around all the time with her.
last night I needed a sign language interpreter and an Uncle Norman. I emceed the drag show at LCC
Oh,
last night, and
excellent.
there was an Uncle Norman. I have no idea who he was or what his name is, but they called him Uncle Norman, and he ran out on stage. He picked up everybody's stuff and their dollar bills. He was running and getting them water. He was fixing pantyhose when they needed to be. I'm like, I need an Uncle Norman. Where's my
Yeah.
Uncle Norman? So the sign language and the Uncle Norman,
I've been able to take my repression. I'm in recovery from being a Baptist.
I'm with you.
Yeah, so, a lot of people are recovering for something, but everybody's got something. So for me, it was like really oppressed. And so comedy helped with that. Because you can laugh. You go, like, I'm laughing my way through this one, right? But when you go to church for 4 hours, sometimes 5 hours, 11 o'clock, you're the last one to get to lunch. Because the Baptists are the last people to move into the...
That's right.
You can tell. Catholics are the first one in the dining room, right?
Yeah,
Second
45
group in,
minutes
Protestant, Presbyterians. Everybody got out before us. And that's why we always had to eat after church. So I'm working from that space. And I think the other thing is when I do the wigs. The wig for me, I get a persona like drag queens. Because I want to put on my heels. I want to make my face up. Because the wig, it has its own zip code. It's that big. Dolly Parton beats your heart out. But it is an alter ego, and I think that's what comedy does to you. It allows you to free, And I think it connects with people. Because I think we hit on things that happen in our lives. We're more alike than we are different. I don't care what people will say. And I just love the fact that women do this. And that we're funny, and that I can say that I invited my 78-year-old girlfriend, who was a wonderful work with me at the university. And she saw you talk about, I can't remember whether it was the horse thing or what, but her 81-year-old husband, they said, right there, we got to go. But they had a great time, they said. And they said, well, that Kathie looks familiar. Where's she? I said, well, she's on I think she's on city council. Oh, that's where we've seen her too. And doing that in the workplace too. I see me as a role model. I see me as able. I see me as funny, and I think when you control all parts of you, your humor included, that gives you another place to be, and I think that's where we're authentic, and I think that's why we are here. And I think the Women's Center had a lot to do with that, because I don't think I would have ever been on a stage talking about being a comedian had it not been for the Women's Center. So for sure, I lecture as an academic, but my students think I'm funny. But I had never thought I would get out and do that. So I think I'm funnier sometimes, more now, because I think that I never know when someone's seen me now. I never know if it was in the classroom, or now if it was at a comedy thing, or I used to do sex education, and that was pretty funny too. It's still pretty funny, what can I say? But this has been pivotal, and I think what I learned the most and what I miss sometimes about not being out and doing this is because I went back to college, and I have a lot of material now. I'm going bald. I have a lot of material right there. Oh, I love it. The best thing that's ever happened to me is going bald. It's just given me so much material because there's more wigs in my life. But I get to choose when and where, and so I think comedy has made it a lot easier to go bald. I now with my grandfather.
Yeah.
That is, I hold back a lot. I know I do. People are like, "You are so funny." I'm like, because it's just us. Today a friend said, "You're going by yourself?" It's like, yeah. She's like, "Nobody's going with you." I'm like, "Nope, just me. There's gonna be other women there." Yeah, do you know them? I was like, "I will." It was so funny to me. She goes, "You can talk about me if you want to." I was like, perfect. I don't really want to, but if I do,
I think it was you brought up the whole that tell me a joke thing. Every woman, every person who's done comedy hates that.
Yeah.
Hates it.
Yeah.
Because don't you know that we're all dark and disturbed and have family issues? So if I choose to be depressed today, I'm not your puppet and I'm not gonna dance. I might just be dark and angry. Can I just be dark and angry for a day? Catch me next week when I feel on.
Yes.
Okay.
My father, who's very religious, recently apparently, they were watching the Super Bowl, and apparently he got bored during the Super Bowl because my father doesn't believe in sports, and that should, like, you work your life. And so he apparently Googled me. So my mom called me a couple weeks later. She's like, "Hey, I just want to give you a heads up. Your dad Googled you and he found some of your stand-up." Not good, not good. I mean, we spend Christmas with like the Book of Luke and like pretend like we're like a little Amish family. So he knows I'm out there, but he's never witnessed it.
Really?
So-
You're able to contain all of it?
Well,
at
I just
holidays?
I do things like to make things creative. Like Christmas last year was great because I've sort of worked on with humor and age, and I teach them acceptance by modeling acceptance. That's like my new thing.
Oh, I love
It was like
that.
4 years with a psychologist, but that's my thing.
Yeah.
And I sing Ani DeFrey Goes I'm Not Angry Anymore. I just jam that all the way on the 2-hour ride.
You got some good skills.
Yeah, man, coping skills. And you only get one set of parents, so I'm gonna love them despite their
Yeah.
Republican Christianity.
Yeah.
And, you know, all of their other default. Whatever.
learn
But he
a lot.
Googled me, and I was pissed at my mom because I was like, who taught him to use the computer? Like, what happened here? I thought you had control of this. Because he used to only be allowed to use the old computer with supervision, and it was to get on Craigslist and look like for used combines. So I don't know, all of a sudden he Googled Christine Sayers and found me, like, talking about being misidentified as a lesbian and the word front butt. And
I
so
love
then
that. That was one of my favorites.
love
I know you
that.
don't like that.
Front.
well,
But I
no,
thought it
it's
was
okay,
funny.
except for people called me front butt for like
That's
3 years.
not
Like,
okay.
what up, front butt? And I was like, I can't do this. So my father, like, what happens when he has a topic that that God compels him to speak to you about is usually he comes at you directly, and then there's lots of scripture quoting. So I was like, great, now I have to ignore Dad for 3 months until one of my siblings screws up. But I'm still waiting for, like, so then he also will write you a 9-page letter. Like in college, I suffered from depression when I was doing therapy, and I didn't pay my own therapy co-pays. I said, send the bill right to my parents. It's their fault anyway.
Yeah.
So for like 4 years, there was like $20 co-pays that they just like paid weekly, and we never talked about it. I now pay for dinner every time we interact. But I haven't gotten the letter yet. So when I was in college and I struggled with depression, right? My dad sent me this 9-page letter about depression and how God could heal my depression. And he put like, you know, a line and then a big dip, which was my depression, and then another line, and he put insert God here. That was the premise of the 9-page letter. But at Christmas, it was great. So I can't wait for the one where he's like, you know, front butts, insert God here, 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 here. You know, like, I don't even know what to do. But he's hilarious. So last Christmas, he's obsessed with reading the Book of Luke. And like, I've heard this for 33 years that I've been on this earth. The only thing that is, so now he wants all the kids to sit down and listen, and let's read the Book of Luke. And so last year, I convinced him that we should read a couple of verses and then I would do ghetto translation. And so he reads a couple of verses and then I'd be like, so what had happened was Joseph and his baby mama and them took a road trip. And we did that for like an hour and a half. He agreed. And actually
okay
was
with
laughing
that.
so hard that he was crying. So really, I don't know what this year's going to be.
You really brought your family together.
Man, you get one choice. Like, you get one set. So what's the other option? I'm just going to like...
Sometimes people get multiple sets.
I
so
have
you're lucky.
multiple sets.
Yeah, no, they made it through the we hate each other and now they kind of act like they like each other. And he stopped saying things like woman submit.
That helps.
Oh, yeah,
that does
yeah.
help.
It's progress.
I've like really worked on it. Like, we're equals and everything now. But my family's great because my brother and sister are both weird and like homeschool their kids. So they're like, Aunt Christine, do you have Jesus in your heart? And I'm like, do you know that Christopher Columbus was a rapist?
I had a colleague who couldn't vote for me in a leadership position because of the YouTube video that exists of my performance at Pride a few years ago. Because I told it like it was on the steps of the Capitol, and I didn't hold back, and there was no booing. There was 10,000 people in that audience, and they were laughing and cheering, and I was asked to do that for a reason. And when I'm asked to MC or give a speech or do anything like that, you know, I try to gauge my audience. And I got an LGBTQ community with allies standing on the Capitol lawn that are wanting to be heard and know that somebody gives a shit. And my whole speech was for them. And somebody found it on YouTube and said it was so unbecoming for anyone on the city council to be to be saying the words that I said on the Capitol steps. And I called Emily, and that was one of the first times we'd ever met, and said, "What do you think about that? And how do you feel as somebody who works with the community about what I said and my leadership?" And she was an excellent support system for me in that regard. But I've been judged for all of the comedy that I do in relation to, and it's funny because I mean, what politician do you know anywhere in the country that performs, comedy and isn't the butt of the joke? Isn't the butt of the joke? I mean, I'll make myself the butt of the joke in that process, but I think it's absolutely therapeutic. I mean, the shit that I go through sometimes, I need the comedy. And you're right. I sit up there, all of you that say, well, I don't know what I did before smartphones, because smartphones is like, I go to the notes section, or I go into the the voice to text thing, because that's how I remember it. Like, funny shit happens and I go, oh yeah. And my kids know, because I used to write on napkins and paper towels and
That's what Ava was doing to you. She
sent me a note, and that was that unscripted note earlier.
Don't tell them what it said.